One of the most important but often overlooked aspects of ingredient sourcing is understanding certificates of analysis, or COAs. In this video, I will explain to you what COAs are and why they are important for your business, and practical tips on how to use them in order to avoid being scammed by raw material suppliers. So, the certificate of analysis is an important document from ingredient suppliers that details the quality and composition of batches of ingredients or of raw materials. Think of it as a report card for your ingredient, showing whether it meets key quality and safety standards. Did you know that certificate of analysis only applies to one production batch and that every new batch, even for the same ingredients, needs a new COA? Keep in mind that the COA is part of your quality and regulatory record, and you will need to include it in your, you guessed it, in your PIF. What do they typically include? I will touch on that later in the video. But why COA matter for your cosmetic brand? First, it is a legal and regulatory requirement. As you probably know, most countries require cosmetic brands to ensure quality and safety of their products. COA is an important part of your regulatory documents that you would need to show that you have done your due diligence. Second, quality control. COAs confirm that your ingredients meet the quality and purity levels necessary for your formula. The COA of vitamin C, for example, ascorbic acid, will state its concentration, its purity, which is critical for product performance. Third, product consistency. As I mentioned, there is one COA for each production batch, and consumers expect the same product every time they buy it, right? So the COAs help you maintain that each batch of production meets the same specs. For formulation accuracy, as I mentioned, the COA provide the exact concentration of ingredients, so you can calculate the formulation accurately. And finally, COA show professional credibility. Manufacturers, retailers, they all expect that you have proper quality documentation, and COAs show that you are serious about safety and compliance. Let's see now what type of technical information are included in the COAs. So a typical COA include header information, supplier's name and contact, the product name and code, batch and lot numbers, and manufacturing expiration dates. There is also physical properties of the ingredient, so everything related to the appearance of the ingredient, so the color, the texture, so on. The odor also, the pH, the viscosity or density, and if there is any, the melting or boiling points. Then chemical analysis, the purity, the content of active ingredients, really interesting, the microbial testing, and finally the compliance statement, meaning if there is any pass or fail status regarding the ingredient, if there is any certification, if the ingredient is organic, non-GMO, so on. So that's great to know what a certificate of analysis contains, but you imperatively need to know what to do with it and how to use it. So first, you need to request a COA before purchasing your ingredients. Another burnt orange flag is paying an extra fee for a basic COA. Most relatable supplier include COAs as standards. Then you should match the batch numbers. Always check that the numbers on the COA match the numbers on the packaging that you receive. Third, check the manufacturing dates. Make sure that your ingredient is not expired or will not expire in 2 days. You need to make sure that your ingredient is within its shelf life and that the COA is current. Then you should review critical parameters. Focus on the specs that matter the most for your formulation. For example, the purity of the ingredient, the key active, if there is any heavy metal, their quantity, and the microbial safety. Finally, make sure that you organize your regulatory file by setting up a digital system. Folders for each ingredient batch, maybe a spreadsheet tracking the suppliers, the batches, the reception and expiration dates. Be safe and upload everything on the cloud or in a secure system. And by the way, you need to retain this documentation for the required retention period, which is typically between 3 to 5 years after the expiration date. But just in case, check with your local regulations. And of course, the COA is an important document that you can share with your partners. Manufacturing partners, safety assessor, regulatory consultant, quality control team, and so on. Based on the market that you are willing to target, the regulation regarding the COA may be more or less stringent. Check the local regulation, but for the United States, the FDA requires that you document the safety and quality of your ingredients. And for the European Union, safety assessment must include ingredient quality data, often supported by the COA. So the COAs are the first line of defense for quality, safety, and compliance for your cosmetic business. Once you have sourced and checked for the COAs, you are ready to formulate your product with confidence. Want to make sure that you are not missing any crucial ingredient? Check this video about the 10 ingredients that you can find in cosmetic products.